Our lead story tonight is more bizarre than a Hollywood plot. The US has been infiltrated. Do you know by whom? The Chinese police. I know it sounds impossible, but it has happened. A major Chinese operation has been busted in New York. Beijing has set up secret police stations in the city of New York. These stations were used to threaten and hunt critics, also harass Chinese dissidents.
The NPS has repeatedly and flagrantly violated our nation's sovereignty, including by opening and operating a police station in the middle of New York City.
As dramatic as this is, it's not a first. America is not the first victim of such an operation. China has been setting up police stations around the world. This is a growing threat, a threat that the world needs to prepare for. So what are these Chinese police stations? And how do they operate on overseas soil? In which countries have they sprung up? We'll cover all of this tonight, starting with what we know about the Chinese operation in New York. It was discovered in Manhattan's Chinatown. This is a neighborhood in New York. America's main domestic security agency, the FBI, was investigating this outpost. Reports say the police station was set up in February 2022. It was operating in disguise. China says these outposts are basically service centers and they provide basic services to Chinese expats. You know, simple things like renewing a driving license. But in reality, these outposts operate like a police station. Two people were running the Chinese police station in New York. Their names are Liu Jianguang and Chen Jinping. Both live in New York. Both are believed to be Chinese agents. American authorities have arrested them. They face two charges: conspiring to act as agent of the Chinese government and obstruction of justice. These are the two charges against them. The second charge, obstruction of justice, proves the Chinese link. Apparently, both men have made an admission. They've confessed to deleting evidence. And what kind of evidence was this? This was secret correspondence. It was exchanged between the Chinese spies and their handler. Now, who was their handler? An official from China's Ministry of Public Security. That's the principal police authority in China. And this handler was giving directions to Chinese spies in New York, and those directions, those communications have now been deleted. That's because they found out that they were under investigation. They got some indications last year, so they tried to clean up their act. They deleted the communications, and by the end of 2022, they also closed the police station. But US authorities were hot on their heels. They managed to nab the Chinese spies. They also searched the police station and found some crucial evidence. Turns out these spies were involved in all kinds of illegal activities, from harassing Chinese dissidents to threatening Chinese fugitives and forcing them to return to China. They did all of it. In one of the cases, these spies were enlisted to locate a pro-democracy activist. So clearly, this was a spying operation, and now it has been busted.
The secret police station appears to have had a more sinister use. On at least one occasion, an official with the Chinese National Police directed one of the defendants, a U.S. citizen who worked at the secret police station, to help locate a pro-democracy activist of Chinese descent living in California. In other words, the Chinese National Police appear to have been using the station to track a U.S. resident on U.S. soil.
So that's the story of the Chinese police station in New York. But like I said, this is not limited to New York. Such stations are everywhere. Do you know how many? More than 100, according to reports. China has over 100 police stations operating illegally in 53 countries, and they all serve the same purpose. They're on the hunt for Chinese dissidents. Can you imagine the scale of this operation? China is running a police station in practically every corner of the world and getting away with it.
It is a long overdue law enforcement action to push back against China's transnational repression that have been taking place in the homeland here in the United States and as well as in Europe. The law enforcement, policymakers, governments in various capitals have been somewhat reluctant to take action on issues like this.
I have some data from April 2021 to July 2022, more than 230 Chinese nationals returned to China. They were charged in criminal cases and they returned home. China said these nationals have returned voluntarily, but experts believe the secret police stations played a role here. They allegedly forced these Chinese nationals to return home. What about India? Do such stations, Chinese police stations, exist in India? Thankfully, India is not on the list. So far, there is no evidence to suggest that China has a police station operational in India. But this is a growing threat, and the world is acknowledging it. As of December last year, 13 countries had begun a probe into such centers. It's a start, but it's not going to be enough, because these are all individual efforts. What we need is a united response, because this is an unprecedented challenge. China wants to police its nationals beyond its borders, and this has huge national security implications for other countries. China is violating the sovereignty of nations again. The evidence is mounting. What we need now is for world leaders to act.